Hi, I'm James Healy. I'm a VFX artist and visual artist. I graduated from the National Centre of Computer Animation in Bournemouth in the late 90s. From there, I moved to London, started freelancing, worked at the big shops, NBC, The Mill, Frame Store, and some of the boutique facilities. From there, I moved to Canada and the US. Alongside VFX, I've always had my own artistic practice. Initially, that was making short films, but over time, I missed working with real objects and handling real physical art. So I started exploring ways to get what was on the screen into real life. Recently, I completed a series of 3D printed zoetropes based on memories of Vancouver, Canada. It's titled Made in Strathcona. A zoetrope is a pre-cinema animation device. It's a black cylinder with 12 vertical slots. You put a sequence of images inside the cylinder and you spin it. When you look through the slots, you see animation. The animation is a very short loop of animation. So for Made in Strathcona, it's only half a second. And unlike conventional cinema, which is rectangular and has cuts, a zoetrope is circular and there are no cuts. So you're seeing the same animation over and over again. I use Houdini to design both the physical zoetrope and the animation. I designed the whole thing in Houdini before I fabricated it. Not just the animation, but also the shutter and the lamp, even the mechanism. That was all designed in Houdini. The mechanism was interesting because a lot of the parts that I use, like the motors and all the electronics and mechanical components are off the shelf. So I just bought them off the internet. But the dimensions of those things, they're always changing because you try one thing, that doesn't work, you try something else. But the procedural nature of Houdini means that I kind of have my setup and I don't have to rebuild it again. I'm like, okay, well, I bought a new motor, it's 6 millimeters taller than the other motor. I'll just drop that in there and it just, Houdini being what it is, it all just sort of fits together. 20 GOTO 10 is a 3D printed sequential sculpture. There are 5 pieces and they function like a storyboard. So each sculpture leads you to the next one. It's freestanding, so you can walk around it. And if you do, then it forms a loop. I've worked with time as a medium in animation, but I've never really explored it as a topic for an artwork. Time is linear. It only moves forward. But our experience of time is cyclical. So day follows night, days, months, years, they all repeat. And our human experience of time is similar. So, we go to bed, we wake up, we drink coffee. So we often talk about time in terms of measurement, right? So we talk about minutes and hours and days, calendars, all this. But if you don't use measurement, talking about time becomes quite nebulous. So you've got things that have happened and their memories and they're kind of subjective. So that's the past. And then you've got the future and that doesn't exist. So it all gets a bit confusing. I find that really interesting. So I wanted to make a piece that explored this cyclical nature and this sort of nebulous, vague ambiguity as a topic. The sculpture is based off a torus. Originally it was a primitive, but I ended up rebuilding it. I'm basically extruding these fins off, but this animation plus the fins on a primitive gets quite complicated. So I ended up just effectively rebuilding the whole thing. And I use quite a lot of Vex and make my own controls so I can dial things in and out. A lot of what I do in Houdini, I think, is not really necessarily that complicated. It's not like I'm using some really complex pyro setup, but I'm just constantly rebuilding things. Because I'm making a sculpture, and I'm going to 3D print it, it's like really specific. So that the tools, especially Vex, allows me to have really fine control over what I'm making. I think with traditional media, I'm looking for ways to just make things happen. So I have workflows that there's bits that I know, and then the other bits, the medium itself kind of allows things to happen. And I think I recreate that in Houdini in the sense that I feel fairly comfortable that the software can do what I need it to do. And I throw down the things that I know, and then Houdini kind of fills in the gaps, like the tools kind of, oh, I need that there, no, I can put that there, and it just sort of figures itself out, it's when the magic happens.